Starting a YouTube channel has completely changed my life. And it's not because of internet fame or views or even money. In fact, I've been posting on this channel here for a little over 2 years now. I haven't gotten any signals that this is actually working. And if you can relate to that, you've probably asked yourself, why the hell am I putting myself through this pain? But in this video, I want to talk about a side of YouTube not enough people give credit to. And it's the reason why you should keep posting content even when it feels like no one's watching. So I actually started posting on YouTube back in 2019. This is actually my 4th YouTube channel. One of the main reasons why I started posting on YouTube was because, growing up, I've always seen myself as an introvert. I didn't have a whole bunch of friends. I had a few close friends. We didn't watch TV or go to sports games or, go to the bars, go get drinks. We'd get together, pull out our instruments, and we would play music for hours on end. And we were super tight-knit and connected. But after graduation, we all split ways and went to different colleges. And that connection kind of disappeared for me. And maybe it's just going through the pre-medical and medical route. Medicine is not a very creative industry. It's very formulaic. It's algorithmic. The field itself is very conservative. Years went by where I tried to keep up my creative passions, which was playing music and writing songs by myself, but without having other people to share it with. All of my music just ended up on external hard drives, collecting dust in my closets as I moved from city to city. When medical school rolled around, I had become almost a shell of who I once was. I would just wake up, go to class, come home, study, go to the hospital, rinse and repeat that cycle. And it wasn't that I didn't want that at the time, but I just had this urge behind me, this deep desire to still make stuff. And that is why I started this YouTube channel. Our first videos that I posted actually were about music. But what happened from doing that was very unexpected. I started connecting with people that I never thought I would. And that is really when my mind was expanded. Think of your YouTube channel like a lighthouse. It's a beacon out in the middle of the sea in a world of darkness. And every time you post content, that lighthouse lights up and it attracts all of the boats out there that are lost at sea looking for their communities. The products that we make as YouTube creators, it isn't the content, not entirely at least. It's the connection and the community that you build through your content. Really what kept me coming back to YouTube when I first started was not the money. I wasn't monetized yet. I wasn't getting any brand deals. I didn't have any desires of turning it into a business like I run now, but I wanted to find people who were like myself because I felt so alone. But something else happened as I kept making more content. And it's something I think is probably one of the biggest cheat codes in life. So in the US, after high school, there's really no requirement for you to continue education. And because of that, most people stop learning after they finish school. You come home, you watch TV, you play some video games, you scroll social media, and that just becomes the norm. But if you want to succeed on YouTube, it kind of forces you to learn a lot of new things. For example, I learned video editing, I learned how to design thumbnails, I learned how to do sales, I learned how to build a freaking business, run a media company, hire editors, train editors, how value is created. But it really felt like I was learning more and faster than I was even in school. And those are such important skills. And I don't know if I would ever learn how to do those things if it wasn't through YouTube. If you're not learning, you're not growing. And if not growing, we're stuck. And when we're stuck, that is when the problems start to compound in our life. Learning is the cheat code that offsets that handicap. But I would say there is one particular thing I learned from making YouTube videos for the past 6 years that I believe, if anything else from this video, is probably the most important reason. So, when you meet someone old, like in their 60s or 70s, and you ask them questions about life, I've realized that most old people just don't give a fuck. I call it old man wisdom. And I believe from the bottom of my heart, that is the most important lesson that YouTube can teach you. Because I've talked to a lot of people about starting YouTube. I've talked to a lot of creators who are stagnant or wanting to break through on YouTube. And the thing that always holds people back is the fear of judgment. It's the fear of being perceived by other people, family members, friends, looking cringe online. And posting consistently on YouTube allows you to speed run and shortcut the process to becoming old man wise. Because every upload that you post, it's out there. Anyone can see it. They can see how little views you get. They can see how many views you get. When you can get over that insecurity and you just fully lean into who you are, what you believe in, what you want to talk about, that is actually how, if we want to tie this back to the first point, you build community. What do you actually feel? And now in an age of AI where everything is kind of dull or diluted, being real is the differentiator. And more specifically, be fucking weird. In 2025, YouTube is really rewarding people who are more weird. Ironically, it's what's going to bring people to you. It's going to attract people. And you're also going to enjoy it yourself a lot more. I think there's such a difference in a creator who is perfectly aligned with their values, their mission, the way they want to speak and the way they want to behave on the camera and in real life versus those who don't. Posting on YouTube has really made me who I am today. And I want to tell you a story about why I believe that. I was watching this video from Kelly Wakasa, who makes amazing content about traveling and lifestyle stuff. And there was this arc where Kelly went to college, I think it was U of A or Arizona State University. He had footage of himself, throwing desks out windows, going on these trips with his friends. As I was watching that video, it made me reflect on my time during those years. And I realized that most of my early 20s was kind of a blur. I have very few photos of my times from those days, even less videos. And it made me really sad, because those were some of the most transformative years of my life. And I have nothing that I can recall from it. But ever since I've started YouTube, I can go back in my library and I can really see the transformation of who I've become. And, as a YouTube creator, pretty much every video that you ever made. You can probably recite the lines from a lot of them, the ideas, they stick with you. But it creates this digital library, this legacy that you can come back to. I'm looking forward to being a father one day. And I really want my kids to watch my content because I want them to understand who I was as a person. As I've been documenting my life, there have been so many more moments of clarity, so much more growth, so much more maturity because I can see the mistakes that I've made. They're documented, they're public to the world. But to move things to the opposite end of the spectrum here, to thinking about it in terms of business and thinking about career advancement, that digital library that I have on YouTube has provided me with more opportunities, more sponsorships, networking opportunities. It's opened more doors for me than anything else I've ever done, more than becoming a doctor. And I think this just has to do with the state of the world right now. The traditional resume and CV is dead. Nowadays, the first thing that people do when they want to know more about you is they'll go to your social media pages, your LinkedIn account, your Instagram account, and if you have one, your YouTube channel. And I would be way more likely to want to invest and work with someone who has a very positive YouTube presence versus someone who I don't know anything about. And of course, if you have high quality and good content, that comes through. And that brings me actually very nicely to this last big point I want to talk about. If you go to any channel that has gained traction or gained following, you'll normally see in their catalog of videos, there's just one particular video that went mega viral. Colin and Samir, some of the biggest and most influential creators right now have even said that their first 5 years on YouTube were a flat line, no viewership, no engagement, and then all of a sudden it starts working. On our first channel at Koi, we were a flat line for about 6 or 7 months, and then we had one video just suddenly break off and then snowball into everything. You were always one video away from changing your life. And you're always one video away from changing someone else's life because you never know who's gonna watch your video. Maybe it's the perfect person at the perfect time who can offer you something that nobody else can, an opportunity, a connection, a job, or even just a conversation. And that concept matters more today than it ever has in the history of the creator economy. We are at a very interesting tipping point in the creator economy. AI has enabled so much progress in technology, but at the same time, AI scares a lot of people. A lot of people are afraid that it's going to replace their jobs and it's going to replace professional jobs. And I do believe to a big extent that that is true. But what happens when all of the regulated, standardized jobs disappear? The only thing that's going to remain are creative jobs, because creating builds community. And that is something that AI cannot replace for us. We still are people. That's what differentiates us from robots. And people want to connect with people. And I'm taking a bet here. I'm predicting that the future of the internet and of society is going to be determined by the select group of creators who actually want to build community and do it in a meaningful way that changes lives. There are huge trends showing how the creator economy has already destroyed traditional media in terms of advertising and commerce. By 2030, the creator economy may or may not be worth almost $600 billion. That's double what it was just 3 years ago. And the further and further we continue down this path, the creator economy is going to start employing a larger and larger piece of the workforce in this country. I'm lucky that now I've been able to pivot completely into a creative industry. I left medicine. I'm now running my own business. I have freedom to work whenever I want to, work however I want to, where I get to be creative and help people with my art. You know, that's something I never thought possible, especially not in medicine. And all of that came through not quitting on YouTube. Posting videos consistently on YouTube will change your life. But if you do realize, like me, that through posting content, you become obsessed with it and you can see a life for yourself in the future, then you need to take it seriously. Because growing a YouTube audience and a channel that resonates and builds community doesn't happen on accident. Treat YouTube as a business. Businesses have deadlines, goals, projections, costs, accountability, and all the things that we talked about in this video. And so if you're serious about taking YouTube to the next level and you want to explore it deeper, then we actually made a video right here where we break down 10 years of our combined YouTube knowledge. We, as in my brother Mike and myself. It's going to be a great starting point to get your feet wet into how to build a channel that's going to become a lasting brand.